How's it going, everyone? As always, my name is Jimmy Champagne, and this is Deck Ready, my channel all about the Steam Deck and other gaming handhelds. In today's video, we've got three great topics. The first one is that Valve just gave the ROG Ally, one of its biggest competitors, arguably a huge shout out. The second topic is this fan-made 3DS style Steam Deck, and then the third topic is what settings you should be playing Helldivers 2 at on the Steam Deck. Before we get started, I'd love to hit 50,000 subscribers before spring starts, so if you're new here or you've been here for a while, please help me out and subscribe to the channel. And if you're feeling extra generous, set your notifications to all while you're at it. This video is sponsored by Factor. I've been spending a lot of time in the gym after work lately, and nothing is worse than coming home when you're tired and having to cook something from scratch. And that's where Factor comes in. And that's because Factor makes restaurant quality meals that you can heat up and eat in just 2 minutes. It saves so much time that it's crazy. I'd also say that the second worst thing about coming home from the gym and having to cook is the cleanup process after, because that takes forever and I am drained. So the fact that Factor's meals are ready to eat in their packaging means that there's literally no cleanup, prep time, or anything required for these meals. It is that quick, just 2 minutes. Factor also offers Gourmet Plus, which allows you to work in gourmet options into your weekly rotation so you can have something special when you want something special. And on the side, you get premium produce like broccoli or broccolini to perfectly complement your protein. Keep an eye out for Surf and Surf, which is shrimp and salmon, or Surf and Turf, which is steak and shrimp, and both of those options are coming soon. I've been sponsored by Factor a couple of times here on the channel, and the meals they send over are absolutely phenomenal. My wife even took one to work. It was a pork chop, and she texted me that she absolutely loved it, and all of her coworkers were asking what she was eating because it smelled so good. When you're ready to try Factor, head to factor75.com or click the link below and use the code DECKREADY50 to get 50% off your first Factor box and free wellness shots for life. 2 free wellness shots from 3 available flavors for every order while you're an active subscriber. Once again, huge shout out to Factor for sponsoring this video. All right, so let's jump into the first news story here, which is that Valve just gave a lot of its biggest competitors a shout out, but I think it was really smart of them to do so because no matter who wins, Valve wins. So this is all basically from their fiscal year ending. They did a whole blog post. Of course, there's a section about the Steam Deck. They had to mention that they launched the Steam Deck OLED. They've got a couple different SKUs now. Everything is great there. But after that, there's a subsection called the more the merrier. And it reads, "We're not the only ones who introduced amazing hardware last year. Several other companies have seized the same opportunity to serve users with high-powered on-the-go gaming PCs with products like the ROG Ally, the One X Player, One X Fly, and the Aya Neo Air. All these choices provide users with a bunch of options and price points for portable PC gaming and reward the investments game devs are making to support better gamepad input and smaller screen sizes. We hope to see even more of these handheld PCs in 2024. I just want to point out really quick that I think it's really cool that Valve is shouting out other handheld PC makers in the space. Obviously, if you have a Steam Deck and a Windows device like the ROG Ally, you're pretty much set with any game you would want to play, because the ones that the Steam Deck doesn't support, you could just play on your ROG Ally, and traditionally they'll play pretty good because the Z1 Extreme is a great chip. But I'd argue that Valve has done a really good job creating a situation here that only benefits them. No matter how much competition they have, at the end of the day, they're still going to be making all of the money and reaping all of the rewards from this because the biggest online platform for PC gaming is Steam. So even if the ROG Ally came out and completely destroyed the Steam Deck and people were throwing their Steam Decks down the gutter in front of their house that says only pour water down here because it'll clog up and then your basement will flood, chances are that while yes, there are a lot of Game Pass subs out there who want to use the Xbox app and download their games through that, the vast majority of people using that new king of handhelds, the ROG Ally, would be buying all of their games on Steam. So Valve would be getting at least 30% of every game sale that they do on the platform. I say 30% for most sales because of course Valve makes games as well. They have Half-Life 2, they have Left 4 Dead 2, they've got Team Fortress, they've got Counter-Strike 2, Dota 2, all of those games. If you buy stuff in those games, they get 100% of the profits. So no matter what, Valve is making money where they want to make money. Like, it's cool that the Steam Deck exists for them, right? Like, I'm sure they love it, but if you look at the sales of the Steam Deck compared to something like the Nintendo Switch or the PS5, it's not really in the same league in terms of overall sales, and that's fine, because I think the goal that Valve had in the first place, like secretly in the background, was not necessarily to make this device device that would sell hundreds of millions of units, but get people in the Steam ecosystem because all of their money is made on games. I mean, every console out there at this point really exists on the same platform, right? Like they want to give you as many options as they can to access their web store, right? Like Microsoft, you can buy an Xbox Series S or an X. You can later in the year buy an Xbox handheld, or on a gaming PC like the ROG Ally, or just a regular old Razer Blade with a 4090 in it like I have. You can access the Xbox app, and if you buy games on there, there's an incentive, because if you have an Xbox Series X, a lot of the games will give you the game on both apps, right? Like through the Xbox app, not only will you get 2 copies of the game, but your saves will transfer, your achievements will transfer, you'll be able to log into your Xbox account, and that's really cool. On the PS5, they have PS Plus Extra, so if you subscribe to that, not only do you get access to the essential games every month where you can download 2 or 3 games and keep them in your account forever as long as you're paying for PS Plus, you also have the PS Plus Extra library, and if you pay for PS Plus Premium, you get the Classics library as well. But you can also buy all of those games a la carte. So when they added games like Killzone Liberation, or just today they added Resistance Retribution, I have a lot of those games on my PlayStation account from back in the PSP days, and even though you have to subscribe to play them for free, I was able to download that game for free because I already owned it, which is a really cool upgrade over what you get with the Nintendo Switch, where every generation they redo the Virtual Console, and this time around they didn't even bring the Virtual Console to Switch over at Nintendo. So the only way to play those classic games, even if you bought them on your Wii, even if you bought them on your Wii U, or if you bought them on your Nintendo 3DS, the only way to play them is to subscribe to Nintendo Switch Online, which I would argue is the worst way of the 3 console makers, because Xbox allows you to just put your discs in from the Xbox or the Xbox 360 or the Xbox One. You can play all those games, or if you downloaded them before, you can access them on your Series X. PlayStation has also been dipping their toes into the cross-account arena. Helldivers 2, which we're going to talk about later in this video, eventually will allow you to transfer your progress from PS5 to PC. It's not as cool as what you do on Xbox, where if you buy the game on PC, you also get it for PS5, but eventually you're going to be able to transfer your progress, and at the very least, you can do cross-play with other people on the PlayStation 5, and you can link your PlayStation Network account as is to the actual game. So with all the console manufacturers out there creating these ecosystems where they're growing their storefronts as much as possible because they don't actually make as much money on the hardware, Valve has been very proactive on doing everything they can to open up Steam to get people to buy games on Steam. And honestly, for a long time, my biggest library was definitely on PlayStation, mainly because the PS3 era, they introduced digital download games where you could get a 10% discount for buying the game digitally on the PS3. So when I was in college, I would trade in a lot of my disc games for PlayStation Store gift cards, and then I would just buy the games digitally. So I have a huge PS3 library that I can take advantage of if I dig out my PS3. On the Vita, you could download PSP games and play them at higher resolutions, and for games like Resistance Retribution, which I mentioned earlier, back in the day, the PSP only had 1 analog stick, so you had to use the face buttons to control the camera. You could actually map the second joystick on the Vita to the face button. So games like Resistance Retribution, or if you wanted to go back and play Coded Arms, which I absolutely loved despite the fact that it was pretty bare bones, or my favorite Metal Gear Solid game of all time, Peace Walker, you got the best experience on the Vita, so I own a ton of those games. PS4 era, I downloaded a ton of games digitally. That was the era where I got a lot of codes from Sony when I was reviewing games at Bloody Disgusting, so I have a ton of digital games there. And then on the PS5, now like 60% of people download games, and I am one of those people. There are a select few games that I buy on disc, like The Last of Us Part 1 and 2, the Uncharted Legacy of Thieves collection, Death Stranding, Ghost of Tsushima, Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, basically anything that Sony makes, but there are a lot of games I downloaded digitally as well. So I had a huge library there for a long time, but once I got my gaming laptop that has a 4090 in it and can run laps around the PS5 and Series X, even though it's a laptop, and I had the Steam Deck and the ROG Ally, my Steam library absolutely exploded. And if it's not at the point where it's equal to my PlayStation library, it has overtaken it. There is no reality in where I have less games on Steam than the PlayStation Network, and that influences a lot of my purchasing decisions, right? Like I just mentioned how Helldivers 2 doesn't have cross save right now. Well, what I do is I play on PC because that's where all my friends are, and then eventually I'll play on my PS5 as well. And right now, when I want to play on the TV, I connect my gaming laptop to the TV versus using my PS5 because I'm level 22 on PC. So no matter what, if the Aya Neo takes off, the ROG Ally takes off, the Legion Go takes off, the Legion Go 2 and ROG Ally 2 take off, that only helps Valve in the long run. But at the end of the day, I think they've created something extremely special with the Steam Deck as well. And because so many people are using the Steam Deck and buying Steam games with it, I think this platform is going to just continue to grow and grow and grow going into the future. So things are looking really bright as far as the Steam Deck and the Steam platform as a whole go. And that brings us to the next topic on this list, which is a user-created dual screen Steam Deck that emulates, of course, the look of the 3DS. I'm someone who has a massive soft spot for the 3DS. I have owned literally every version of it that has come out. I got the original one when I got my grad money after I graduated high school. I took $175 and I picked up Mercenaries 3D, which is extremely underrated, with the blue, like the Jolly Rancher blue 3DS, and I thought it was awesome. I traded that in for a Vita, but then when they re-released the 3DS with the XL, I picked up that sweet black and gold Zelda one. I still have that. And then at the end of the generation, I picked up the new Nintendo 3DS XL, the special edition Metroid Samus Returns version that also came with the games. I picked up the amiibo as well. I have a massive library of physical 3DS games, but on the Steam Deck, of course, everyone knows that you can use EmuDeck, and emulating 3DS games is a really good experience on the deck. So basically what this user Ty Power did is he bought a 7-inch screen that only needs one cable. So you connect it to the USB-C port on your Steam Deck and then it works as a second monitor. But the cool thing is it has USB-C pass-through and it allows enough power to actually charge your deck while you're using the screen. So you've got a USB-C in for power and then USB-C out to the Steam Deck for video, which is awesome. And the way that he was able to affix this to his Steam Deck is awesome as well, because he used these like MagSafe hinges. I think they're made for iPhones, but of course, because this screen is magnetic on the back as well, it'll work with one of these hinges, but that turned out to be a little wobbly. So what he did is he bought two of the hinges, put them on either side of the back of the Steam Deck, and then put the screen on top. So when you don't want to use the screen, you just fold the hinges down behind the Steam Deck. You don't even see them. And then when you want to attach the screen, you flip the hinges up and you use the MagSafe to just snap the screen right on, which is an awesome solution that honestly, it would be pretty cool to see Valve make some sort of case or something like that and sell a second screen for the Steam Deck that's the exact same size, because this dual screen setup is absolutely phenomenal. Normally, I'm not the biggest fan of emulating games that are still available for purchase, but the 3DS eShop went down last year. Officially, Nintendo basically killed it, and you can do things on the actual 3DS that let you download pretty much any game from the eShop for free, which is stealing, of course, and I'm not necessarily condoning that. Or you can get a flash cart for your 3DS and save games to it and then launch them from that as well. But the Steam Deck OLED screen runs laps around the 3DS XL screen, not even because it's OLED, but of course also because it's higher resolution at 800p. So I think this is the best way to play 3DS games. If you haven't tried out emulating on the Steam Deck, I urge you so hard to go check out EmuDeck. I played through all the original Resident Evil games last year. I started out with the remake of Resident Evil 1, which is awesome. It's available on Steam. For some reason, it doesn't run right at 60 FPS, so you have to limit it to 30, but that's really fine because the game is very slow. Then I went back to the PS1 version of Resident Evil 2. You use Q files to do the disc swapping and it works phenomenally. Then I played Resident Evil 3 Vengeance, which thankfully only has one disc. And then I even tried my hand at emulating Dreamcast for arguably the best version of Resident Evil Code Veronica X. And honestly, the experience was incredible, and it makes me wish Capcom would do a collection like they've done with Mega Man, where they put out literally every Mega Man game in multiple collections on Steam with nice remastered effects and everything like that. They need to do that for the classic Resident Evil games. But until then, I think your best option is using EmuDeck, and it's honestly the best option out there. And it's not even like a caveat. It's literally one of the coolest things that's ever been created. And they've extended it over to Windows, so I set it up on my ROG Ally. And the coolest thing about that is that your saves transfer back and forth there as well. So then I extended it to my main gaming PC. And yeah, having my Resident Evil PS1 saves transfer through the cloud is just the coolest thing ever. And that brings us to the third topic of today's video, which is playing Helldivers 2 on the Steam Deck. Now, when the game launched, of course, I tried it out. It was not running well at all, but Arrowhead, despite having to wrangle the servers and do a few patches for the matchmaking and everything like that, because the servers are just constantly at capacity, they've also found the time to do a few performance patches on PC. And with the latest Helldivers 2 patch, the game is in a great state on the Steam Deck. So I'm just going to read you the settings that I found to play the game at a locked 30 FPS. Sometimes when you use the 500K Eagle, it can drop it into the high 20s, like 28, 29, but when that big explosion is happening, you're not really ever in the thick of a firefight anyway, so I don't think it affects gameplay all that much. And even me, the locked 30 FPS or 60 FPS or 40 FPS stickler, I'm having a great experience playing Helldivers 2 on the Steam Deck with these settings. So I'm just going to read them in order as they appear in the settings menu everything under Helldivers 2. Starting with textures, you're going to set those to medium. Object detail quality, set that to low. Render distance, set to high. Shadows, low. Particles, medium. Reflections, lowest. Space quality, low. Ambient occlusion, off. SSGI, off. Vegetation, medium. Terrain quality, medium. Fog, lowest. Clouds, lowest. Lighting, low. Anti-aliasing, on. I went and checked a few articles. There's one on Rock Paper Shotgun that uses very similar settings, but honestly theirs are a lot lower. I think Steam Deck Gaming may have upped theirs even more over what I picked, and Steam Deck HQ seems to be pretty much in line with the settings I picked. These settings worked great for me. I tried to keep things as high as possible. You will get a little bit over an hour and a half or 2 hours of battery life out of this, but because Helldivers 2 is an online game, I'd imagine most people are playing it plugged in anyway, like at their house. I have a really long USB-C cable, so it doesn't really cause any problems there, just leaving the thing plugged in. And with those settings, you should get a more than acceptable image on your Steam Deck screen, which is great. I wouldn't use the Steam Deck docked with this game just because when you blow it up to the size of like a 1440p monitor, that image breaks down quite a lot. But to my eye, even with these mostly low and medium settings, it looks as good, if not a little bit better, on the Steam Deck playing in handheld than it does on my PS5. Because if you didn't know, playing in performance mode on the PlayStation 5, it's at 60 FPS and it does drop in the same scenarios that it drops on the Steam Deck, but the resolution is 1080p and it looks like they're using pretty much similar settings across the board. So if you want a console-like experience on your Deck OLED, I think these settings will do you just fine. But yeah, guys, that's all I've got for you in this news update for the Steam Deck. I'll be back later in the week with a video about my everyday carry for the Steam Deck with all the accessories and everything like that I bring along in my backpack when I go on trips. So please look forward to that video. As always, my name is Jimmy Champagne. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching and shape on.